With dozens killed in terror attacks in Belgium and Pakistan in the last week, terror and foreign policy becoming a top priority in the race for the White House.
I don't think that Europe is a safe place. When you look at Brussels, when you look at the way they've handled things from law enforcement standpoints, when you look at Paris, when you look at so many other places, no, it's not.
You look at Europe. Much of the cause of these terror attacks is the failed immigration policies in Europe over the decades, where they've allowed vast numbers of Islamic terrorists to come into Europe.
Well, each day this week, we'll look at the foreign policy of each candidate based on different categories. Today, we're looking at how they would take on the threat of radical Islam. Fox News contributor and former White House Security Council staff member under Presidents Bush and Obama, Gillian Turner, joins us now to grade the Republican and Democrat presidential candidates.
Grades makes me nervous.
Yes, grades make everyone nervous, but we're going to force you to give them all grades.
All right.
So we're going to start with John Kasich. Where would you put him on the scale of plus or minus?
I'd put him on the plus side. I think of all the Republican candidates, John Kasich has offered the most in-depth, sort of comprehensive national security plan that includes a strategy to defeat ISIS that's very viable. He's got the respect of the Washington foreign policy making community. Depending where you are on this election cycle, that's either a positive or a negative to you.
Right.
To me, it's definitely a positive.
He certainly had a lot of folks come out and back him his time in Congress. He was involved in those issues as well.
And I got to point out for the campaign, it's time for an updated headshot.
We might need a new headshot.
That advice was free.
Up to the control room. All right, Donald Trump.
Next, I'm going to put Donald Trump in neutral. You know, it's a little bit of a toss-up to me between neutral and negative because he's really the wild card of this race. We have no idea what he's liable to do once actually in office. He's got no track record on these issues, and he says he sort of changes his mind on the issues of the day frequently.
We've heard him say America first. We're going to ask him about it. What do you think that means?
America first, I think, to him means, you know, a sort of no-nonsense, financial sense approach to American foreign policy, which we need some of that, but, you know, our entire national defense policy cannot be mercenary.
Sure. Senator Ted Cruz, what do you think?
Ted Cruz is going to go on the positive side. He's got a very pragmatic approach to fighting terrorism. I think that of all the candidates, I would feel perhaps most comfortable that he would take counsel of military advisors. He's not liable to do something crazy. He's very pragmatic, and his approach so far has been very reasoned. It's included really important elements like working with NATO allies in the fight against
I've certainly
ISIS.
seen him talk. He knows the issues.
He
seems to know them fairly well, back to front. Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, a lot of you might disagree with me. I'm going to put her in the positive category, and that's because...
I might be one of them, but...
You might be one of them, but that's okay. I put her in the positive because she is definitely going to be an improvement over President Obama in the Democratic category. She doesn't shy away from being aggressive in world affairs. She tends to have more of a go-getter approach than President Obama. She'd rather, by her own admission, she'd rather err on the side of taking action than on the side of not taking action.
Sure. She also has some substantial stains.
She has, exactly. A lot of experience, which is to her credit, but to her detriment, the track record is far from perfect.
Sure, absolutely. All right, last
candidate
and probably
is,
least,
unfortunately for Mr. Sanders, I'm putting him in the negative category, and that is because does he even have a plan to combat radical Islam? I don't know that he's ever really acknowledged the urgency of the threat and also acknowledged how important it is to the American voters in this election cycle. He's consistently shied away from getting into the weeds on counterterrorism.
He seems the one most closely aligned with President Obama, unwilling to even name radical Islam. Has Hillary Clinton been willing to? Because she seemed to back away from even naming this very threat.
And she has, and I fault her for that, big time. But what I will give her credit for is that she was a very early advocate from 2011 forward of doing some key things in the fight that would have positioned us much better today. She didn't ultimately sell her plans to the president, but one of those things was arming and equipping and training the Syrian moderates who are against Assad inside Syria. The other thing was arming and equipping our really good allies, the Kurds. Really good steps that we should have taken.
Sure. Well, Gillian Turner clearly knows this stuff back to front. The debate will continue about these grades online, I am sure.
It will.
We're grateful to have you. You're going to be here all week looking at different threats facing America.
Yep.
Appreciate having your expertise this morning.
Thanks, Pete.